Hello and welcome to the Awaken Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Kaki Lee, a mindset coach and healer who's on a mission to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to share the love and wisdom of yoga mentor, life coach, and founder of Anchelique Yoga, Anchelique Fjœre, who is joining me all the way from Malta. Welcome, Anchelique. I'm sorry if I pronounced your surname wrong.
No, that was perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Welcome to my podcast. I'm really excited to have you on. But before we dive into your journey, I really love to know, what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
An awakened feminine. I would say that it's a woman who has awakened to her empowered self somehow, whether that is through connecting with something higher, like connecting with her own spiritual definition.
Mm-hmm.
And having gone through something difficult that allows you to redefine who you are with less ego.
Yeah, I love that definition.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that
I
just
had a
came out of my
moment there where I was like, oh
mouth.
my gosh, I don't know what to say, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that definition. Thank you for sharing that. So, I love to start sharing your journey. So, I know you're a yoga mentor, life coach, and I went through coaching school with you, and I know you're amazing. You've just got this beautiful, loving presence about you. So, I want to ask you, have you always been a yoga mentor? And what, and if you weren't, what led you down that path and then also down the path of life coaching?
So the reason why I'm calling myself a yoga mentor now, instead of like an instructor or a teacher, is because I've gone over to teaching teachers most of the time, and also offering more in-depth long-term courses for privates, so more one-on-one,
Yeah.
as well as teacher trainings. And what led me to this is I was actually working as a dancer for a very long time. So I moved around a lot, ended up in London, stayed there for about 10 years. And I found yoga kind of halfway through my career as a way of centering in and dealing with a lot of competitiveness in the industry.
Yeah.
And I got curious through having some really, really good teachers that was good at touching on the philosophy in the classes as well. So you don't get that much philosophy teachings in a regular class, but they were very good at planting those seeds. So that got me really curious.
Yeah.
And I continued to practice regularly for probably like 3-4 years until I decided to do a teacher training in Thailand in 2011.
Yeah.
That was actually when I was in Australia.
Oh.
And in Australia, on a tourist visa, I was looking for a way of studying, I wanted to study something just to get a student visa in order to stay there for a longer time. And I couldn't find anything that I was interested in until I realized, I actually want to do a yoga course.
Yeah.
But that wasn't qualified as a tourist visa study.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's the beginning of that.
Oh, wow. So you've been to Australia. I'm in Perth. So which part of Australia were you in?
I only managed Sydney because I was there for like 10 months.
Yeah.
The plan was to travel around a bit, but we decided to go back to Europe.
Yeah.
Because of the student visa, really.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, so um, dancing, you were saying that is very, very competitive, and you found yoga as like a kind of a de-stressing tool, and that piqued your interest in yoga. So when you did your yoga training, like what, I guess a lot of people do the yoga training to teach, but I mean, you've built like a brand around it. So, what led you down to build that brand? Because a lot of teachers tend to just teach at yoga studios, but you've really just created this beautiful brand. I mean, I see your Instagram and, the things you do, and you've got beautiful photos. You're just so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to say that this was the plan all along, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Which is,
I actually, yeah, that's life, isn't it? It's something that has developed nicely from the last 2 years. Before that, I was a co-owner of a boutique and yoga fitness studio. So, which gave me the time and space to really develop both business skills as well as my own practice and teaching skills, and realizing that group classes are an amazing place to teach yoga, but I felt like I needed to bring in the philosophy around it as well. And going through a difficult relationship split with having a son and a business together, I embarked on having a mentor from 2018. Actually, I had a few.
Yeah.
And I did a long online course with one of them. And I went to the States for the final course last year, or this year, actually. It feels much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the beginning of this year. And that's when I realized that, I actually want to go down this route.
Yeah.
And mentor people on a deeper level,
Yeah.
incorporating life coaching programs with the yoga or without. It depends
Yeah.
on the need.
Yeah.
And then, so this whole last 2 years have very much been on a new self-discovery journey.
Yeah.
From being in a relationship and owning a business together to now being on my own.
Yeah.
And really discovering that this is actually something that I wanted to do for a long time. Bringing some of the old self-expression through dance into taking pictures and express movement, thoughts, messages. Infusing that into it, which I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. I love what you do on Instagram. I just see it and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like it's just, and you're sharing more of your voice and your story, and also like as I said, your photos are amazing, and your dancing and your yoga. I've watched quite a bit of what you do, so it's really cool. I want to ask you, did you have like, I know you said you went through, a rough patch where you broke up with your partner of business and also life, and going on your own. So I want to ask you, did you have, like, during these last 2 years, did you have any aha moments or spiritual awakenings where you really went, oh, this is something I've always wanted to do? Why didn't I do it sooner?
That's a really good question, because I think a spiritual awakening is such a personal experience that it's just going to arrive when the time is right. And that's what yoga is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's up to every individual to dive a little bit deeper and find their own definition of it. So I guess it's come along in a very gradual process.
Yeah.
But the big shift happened when I decided to make some big changes in my in my personal habits, if you could say. I was never really a big drinker or anything, but I had tendency to drink and to party in a way where I would escape from reality. And once I decided to stop that, that's when everything really started to shift, because if there's no numbing involved, if there's no sort of habits that distracts you away from how you're feeling from day to day, you're going to be met with whatever is going on the inside.
Yeah.
And so it's like that with spirituality as well, especially if you're seeking something higher, if you've always been curious, which I have. I've always been really curious about the mystical side of life, and is it really just us? Do I believe or not? If so, in what?
Yeah.
But I would say that also what really spurred it on was a gratitude challenge, which I signed up for. So I was writing things that I was grateful for 40 days, including the things that I wasn't grateful for, which was a nice way of allowing anything negative to be expressed as well.
Yeah.
And then one day when I was doing the final closing meditation for a client, I felt this big, expansive feeling in my heart.
Yeah.
And almost like a voice of, this is where I am.
Yeah. Wow.
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So ever since that day, I made an effort to connect more through meditation, through journaling.
Yeah.
And it comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to practice, just like anything else.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, that, that experience that you had, that you were talking about. And it is so true. It's that spiritual connection. Once you have it, if you don't nurture it, it kind of just fizzles out like a relationship, right?
It really does, yeah.
Yeah. So it is a relationship with spirit, with whatever your beliefs are. You just need to nurture that, or as you said, it does kind of come and go. And yeah, so that's really cool that you've built this relationship with spirit and connecting and finding, what you're here to do, which leads me to ask you, right in this moment, in this chapter of your life, what is your personal mission?
I'm so scared of that question. I've always been, one of the things that I find really challenging is to visualize the future ahead.
Yeah.
Which probably comes from that fear of failing, because if you weren't afraid to fail, then you'd happily imagine all these amazing things that you want to embark on in your future.
Yeah.
So what was the question again?
In this current chapter of your life, in this particular moment, what is your personal mission?
It's a mixture of daring to be myself, and through daring to be myself, inspiring other people to be the same and more, and helping people to express themselves fully and get in touch with their true potential.
Yeah.
And go after their dreams.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so beautiful that when you are vulnerable and when you share yourself, it allows, it's like an invitation for other people to
It
also do
really
the
is.
same. Yeah, and I love that. There's such a beautiful mission. So thank you for sharing that with the world. So I love to I love you to share more love and wisdom with us. So was there a particular experience in your life which you found the most challenging but actually led to your biggest breakthrough?
Yes, it was probably the biggest challenges was breaking up, I would say, in the last relationship.
Yeah. Can you?
And it forces you to, it depends on how you deal with things, but for me it forced me to really come back to myself
Mm,
and reevaluate who I am, what I want to do,
yeah.
and to listen to my voice again, because you adapt yourself so much into that other person.
Yeah.
So it's easy to lose a bit of track of who you are at times,
Yeah.
and to trust your instincts,
Yeah.
because you want to adapt. You want to make sure that you did everything that you could to make things work.
Yeah.
So the breakthrough from that has been pretty amazing, I
Yeah.
would say,
Yeah.
because
So
it gives you a chance to only have yourself to listen to again.
yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think, yeah, with any relationship, we tend to start blending, and sometimes what you want might not actually be what you want, but you think it is what you want because that's how the relationship, you're a team, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you if you don't mind sharing, because there might be people in relationships where, they've tried everything and they're, trying to make it work, and they're trying to make it work, and they want to stay together for the children, but inside they're also dying. What advice would you have for those people? Because it's definitely not easy to break up from a relationship, but is it better to stay in a relationship for your children, or is it better to leave the relationship so that you can show your children that you have a choice, and all these other things that can happen when you free yourself from something that doesn't align with you?
Mm. It's really difficult to suggest anything, because it really depends on the two people
Mm,
involved. Because I am a big believer of love being, you know, the greatest thing, and that is possible. It is actually possible to go through massive challenges and massive differences. Um, so yeah, it depends on how aligned the two people can make sure that they are
mm,
throughout the whole process,
yeah,
at the same time as they stay true to the growth that they are going through individually.
yeah,
Um, because I used to believe that there's that one ultimate soulmate, and fantasizing about, when am I going to meet this person,
yeah,
how amazing that's going to be, because you're going to be so similar and you're going to want the same things and so forth. But I think that we have many. That's my belief now. We have many soulmates.
yeah,
And yeah, it's very difficult, because when you have kids, I mean, one of
yeah,
the things that I really wanted to break the cycle of was breaking up,
mm,
because my mum did it, my sister's done it, my brother's done it.
yeah,
Um, so instinctively, there was always that thing of, no, I'm not going to be the one to do that. I want to
mm,
make it work. I want to make it work for my son. I want to make it work for myself, and prove to the world and to everyone that it is possible to go through these big challenges, and that you can make it. You can fall in love again. You can find new ways of growing together, but you have to be aligned.
yeah,
You have to be two people willing uh, to pull the same carriage.
yeah,
And then there is sometimes that you just grow apart, isn't it?
yeah,
You've just become two different people with two different missions, and you're never going to be satisfied until you listen to that.
Yeah.
until you listen to the gifts that you're supposed to be offering the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the ways that you're meant to be expressing yourself. And I think that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
Um, and the kids are going to be happy if you make the right choice for yourself.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling myself anyway.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I really do believe like children watching their parents, although they might be young, but they know a lot. And
Mm,
if they can see their parents unhappy, then they grow up thinking that relationships aren't happy. So
mm.
then that kind
That's
of
the thing, yeah.
fosters their belief of what relationships look like. So if you
Yeah.
can, yeah, if you can find your own happiness, then it in turns allows them to find their own happiness. I think that's my
Yeah.
take on it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Being the example, and energy doesn't lie.
yeah,
Energy and vibration doesn't lie. We can't hide how we're really feeling in our hearts and
yeah,
souls.
exactly. It's like when babies can sense the parents' stress and then they get
Mm,
stressed out. And I mean, babies
mm,
don't know anything and they can feel it. So it's that energy. It is. I love that. So I want to ask
yeah.
you, I mean, with your breakup, obviously you had to probably do a bit of healing and work through quite a few different things. So what were some tools or teachers that were really helpful in this process for you?
The tools was making sure that I'm following some sort of ritual or new habit, which was the beginning of it was becoming really, really healthy,
Mm,
connecting through meditation, through journaling, through listening to myself, and a lot of self study of actually becoming aware of certain behavioral patterns,
mm,
which comes from the ego, which comes from fear. And so I feel like I've been my own therapist
yeah.
this last 12 months, reading books, getting inspired from other mentors and other people's stories, and
Yeah.
just being really honest.
Mm, yeah. I love the honesty bit because a lot of times we just are so not honest with ourselves. We just don't want to see the truth or deal with the truth. We know exactly
Mm,
what's going on, but we just go, okay, can't see you.
can't. Yeah, yeah, I've been there for a long time of
Yeah,
ignoring the little voice,
yeah, yeah. Same here. I think we all
ignoring
go
the
through that.
yeah. And then you find out the things that really fill your cup.
Mm,
When you find out what really fills your cup, and you keep doing it, even though it takes a bit of discipline, in the long run, it makes you stronger, and you can hear yourself a little bit clearer, I think.
yeah, definitely. I love that. And oh, you were talking about books. So, what are some books or a particular book that really made a big impact on you?
Conversations with God,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the three of them was kind of what opened my door to the spirituality world, I would
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
and different ideologies, and what we're supposed to be doing with our lives and the planet. And
yeah.
yeah, that really, really resonated with me when I lived in London a long time ago. And the same with the Four Agreements,
Mm,
which I came across again now lately. It's a really lovely book
yeah.
that just reminds you of how to conduct yourself. And again, it's very similar to the philosophy in yoga.
Mm,
It's a bit like the Ten Commandments, but in a more free way,
Yeah.
where it's your choice
Yeah.
and you're not going to be sent to hell if you don't follow them.
Yes, less God-fearing.
Yeah. Which other books? Yeah, and I really liked Paulo Coelho's books. That was lots of sweet stories about following your heart, and that
The
you do
Alchemist.
purpose, believing in the universe
Yeah.
and the manifestation process. Many Lives, Many Masters.
Mm-hmm.
That one stuck with me as well.
Yeah.
The idea of reincarnation.
Yeah. Awesome.
What about you?
Me.
Give me one book that was life changing.
For me, Super Attractor was my life-changing book.
Wow.
Yeah, it. I didn't really expect much. I guess I didn't even know what the book was really about. I was just like, oh, okay, someone told me to read this. So I read it, and
Mm.
it was pretty crazy what came out of that reading.
Wow.
So I'm very forever grateful because that book really connected me with spirit, and
Mm.
yeah, and it's just kind of led me down this path of yeah, healing, energy work, and just all these beautiful things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna have to
definitely,
pick that.
yeah,
Super.
but yeah, Gabrielle Bernstein, yeah, I love her.
Mm.
but but Conversations with God, I've only read the first one. I haven't read the other two. I think when I read it, I wasn't at that point where I really connected and understood it. I was like, okay, I didn't quite get it, but I think if I read it again, it would be very, very different. There's some books I think
Mm.
when I read it, it wasn't time. So
Yeah.
I have to go back to those books. Yeah.
Have you read Eckhart Tolle's yet?
No, I haven't. I've had
No, me neither.
quite a few guests tell me that that's the life-changing book. I tried the audio book. I mean, no disrespect, but I could not get through the audio book.
No.
So I really need to actually get the proper book and read it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it the author's voice of the audiobook or
The audiobook was it could because it's like an interview, so they have someone asking questions
okay.
and then the
Mm.
author, so Eckhart Tolle, would respond. And there's like a lot of chimes, and it was very like
Ah,
very slow pace. So
yeah.
yeah, it was very
Yeah.
difficult, especially I think with audiobooks is a bit harder with the concepts to understand it all as well. So I just couldn't get through it. So I'll have to
Mm.
get the book.
Yeah, that's a book that I've had on my mind for a while lately. I tried
Yeah.
it 20 years ago and was definitely not ready for it then.
Yeah. So I think I'm ready for it now. So I'm gonna give it a try because it has definitely been on my mind, both of his books. The Power of
Mm.
Now and A New Earth, I think the other one is.
Mm.
Mm, yeah. So
Another one that I really, really enjoyed in audio lately is actually Brene Brown's
oh
The
yeah.
Power of All.
The Power
I'm going to
of
dissect again in the new year and just talk about all the things that she addresses. But um, it's a really good listen to because she's very funny.
yeah, she is. Yeah. So what was
And
the book that you cut out when you were talking?
The Power of Vulnerability.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah. I love her talks about vulnerability. It's so great to know that a lot of yeah, because I've always been very vulnerable. Like I just show people myself, I guess. And when I was a manager, and it was very weird because most managers are very like, you're down here and I tell you what to do, but I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll do this together and really express how I feel. So it was really good reading that and going, oh, so I'm not a weirdo. This is actually a good thing to do.
Yes.
Mm,
It
Yeah.
is.
So,
And it's so true with how you can get your authentic self more expressed by being vulnerable.
mm, yeah,
And yeah, that's definitely something that I'm really working on personally at the moment.
yeah. It's hard. It's hard, definitely, especially when you're doing it in a public, in a very public arena, because you're on
Mm.
Instagram and things like that. Whereas before, I was
Mm.
just in this at work, right? There's only so many people, but now it's like everyone who ever jumps on will
Yeah.
can see you.
Yeah.
It is hard, and I find it myself quite a hard thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Mm,
I think it's really freeing at the same time.
yeah,
It's really liberating to let go of all these attachments to how other people perceive us. At the end of the day, if you're just being true to yourself all the time, you don't really have anything to lose.
yeah,
Uh, and people are going to like you or they don't.
yeah,
And it doesn't really matter if they
yeah,
don't,
yeah. I know.
if you're expressing the truth.
It's I think the need to be liked is something that I'm have been working on for a while, and that I think that's one of the reasons where vulnerability is so hard, because oh, what if I say that and the people that have always liked me think I'm a weirdo and don't like me anymore? Is there's always
Yeah,
that part of you, right? But then at the same
yeah,
time, every time that I'm vulnerable, it feels so good to just go
it does.
say what I really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably find that you get so much more support than you thought, anyways,
Yes.
because people can relate. You're
Yeah.
just being a human being, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, just connecting so much better with people, and even conversations now with the podcast is really
Mm.
obviously helped me with being vulnerable, because I mean, I don't know how the conversation will flow during the podcast.
Mm.
It just happens,
Y-
and just saying what comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very freeing. So it's definitely um something I'm working on still, but a lot better
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That validation thing,
Mm,
which we are constantly feeding as well because of social media.
yes.
Um, but at the same time, you get to connect with the like-minded individuals. At the same time, you
Yeah.
have the choice of what's going to be appearing on your feed and whether that is nourishing you or not.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. I want to ask you now. So, what do you believe is the greatest lesson you've learned in your life so far?
Oh my gosh. I think I was actually having a really lovely conversation with a friend yesterday. And right now, I think it's the ego thing.
Hmm.
The greatest lesson is understanding the ego with compassion, though.
Yeah.
That's the big that's the big thing, because you can't transform yourself until you've learned how to have compassion and understanding to the parts of yourself that you don't align with anymore.
Yeah.
And that took me a long time to realize.
Yeah.
Like, I would look at my past and cringe a little bit almost.
Mm.
I wouldn't be proud of what I had achieved, and I didn't think it was that all that much. But now I am. I can look at myself and say, you did what you could with what you had then. You didn't know any better for the mistakes that you did. And I wouldn't be where I am anyways without all of those little side steps.
Yeah.
And really, yes, becoming more humble in life.
Yeah.
Um, you can't really go wrong with that, I think.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, definitely. Being humble is something that's just so beautiful when you're not in the ego.
Mm.
Hmm. And if you could time travel and go back to, say, a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, I would say trust yourself. It's difficult because I remember myself being very insecure.
Yeah.
And even though I was in the performance arts industry, you wouldn't think that, because I was there expressing myself and I had confidence in some areas, but deep down I was very insecure and dependent on that validation of getting enough jobs, or landing different auditions. And so yeah, I was defining my worth on that.
Mm.
um, and how do you let your guard down when you don't know the things that you know now?
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I would say then connect with some sort of spirituality through books or going to church. I don't know. Find that. Find the faith earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, because everything is in that, I think. All the teachings about the ego, the humbleness, what you're worth, what you are in essence,
Yeah.
and that you're supported.
Yeah. Definitely. I love that advice because I think I'll probably give the same advice to my younger self as well.
Yeah.
Not wait till I'm 38 before
I
really
was,
connecting.
I was so late with it. Even though I was practicing yoga, it was kind of there, but you have to step into it with your intention.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, but definitely it is. Although I had my intention, but I didn't expect it to. I mean, I can never expect anything. Things just happen nowadays. I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Happened the way that it happened, like really so unexpectedly. Yeah.
Right.
So I want to ask you, I know there are a lot of men and women listening right now who want to make changes in their life, whether it's career, relationships, health, anything really, but they're feeling stuck or lost. What kind of advice or recommendation would you have for them to get rid of the fear or the limiting beliefs that they have to, so that they can actually start making the changes that they want?
Mm. And you have to start somewhere. You have to take the first step of reconnecting with yourself,
Yeah.
which is going to be anything from changing a habit into, okay, from this and this day, I'm going to do 3 days of some sort of self-care that brings joy back into my life, that brings vitality, productivity, energy. So for me, that's exercising of some sort.
Yeah.
That's moving my body, getting the breath involved, which helps to release endorphins, which helps you to get more creative, or get more inspired. And it's a demonstration of self-love and discipline, isn't it?
Mm.
Whatever that movement is.
Yeah.
And then finding time to be still and listen to yourself.
Yeah.
What do I want? Why do I want it? Is it really me that want it, or is it an expectation from somebody else that I've heard a voice of my whole life?
Yeah.
and then take it from there. There's so many opportunities out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna attract the right teacher, whether that is through re-educating yourself or having a mentor or um, changing jobs. It will appear, but you have to put the first step of reconnecting with yourself
Yeah.
and establish.
Yep. Beautiful advice. Thank you. So you kind of answered partly my next question, because my journey, as you probably know, because we had a coaching session on that, was about self-love and,
Yeah.
really looking after my well-being. So as an awakened feminine, what are your top 3 go-to activities to ensure you give yourself the self-love that you deserve?
Oh, boundaries. It's learning to say no in order to say yes to you.
Yes.
That's so important. And noticing, being aware enough to really listen in. Actually, if you feel depleted, if your energy is drained, it's because you needed to set a boundary somewhere, and really understanding where that boundary needed to be set, whether it was saying no to having a coffee with someone, not doing the dishes, something small.
Yeah. Amen,
Uh,
sister. That is such a big thing.
it's a big thing because we want to please. I like to please. That's one of my love languages, is cooking food, getting presents, and doing things in the house that I know is going to please other people.
Yeah.
But there are times when you have to listen to yourself as well.
Yeah.
So that's number 1, boundaries, knowing when to set them, so you don't get depleted. 2 is, again, it has to do with that movement thing. It's doing something that is going to invigorate you and keep your body, your mind, your spirit healthy and thriving and united.
Yeah.
And 3, have fun.
Fun. Yes.
Whatever fun is for you.
Yeah.
For me, it's dancing, it's meeting my friends that I can joke with and be silly with. Um, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, but definitely having fun is definitely
Yeah,
something that,
laughter is
yeah,
a medicine.
yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to ask you before we wrap up, what is currently setting your soul on fire?
It's what we spoke about, actually. It's me opening up more and more and being vulnerable and following my intuition,
Yeah.
expanding as much as possible in order to help those around me do the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Beautiful. That is so beautiful. So excited to see how everything unfolds even further for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So,
will have a different year ahead.
yes. Yeah. Hopefully. No, I'm sure we will have a very different year ahead. So, definitely be better than, yeah, then 2020. So, Angelique, thank you so much for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. If people want to find out more about you or how they can work with you, where should they go?
You can contact me through my website, which is ancheliqueyoga.com. You can find me on Instagram, Anchelique Yoga, Anchelique_yoga, I think. Um, and Facebook, Anchelique Yoga.
Awesome.
Just to connect for free consultation.
Awesome. Well, I'll have all your details and any recommended resources in the show notes so people can reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've just so enjoyed our conversation today.
Me too. It was lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And until next time, I love you, I believe in you, and you are worth taking that first step to the life of your dreams.